Upon moving to Burnsville, um, I was curious about other churches, so I started attending a Unitarian church here in Burnsville, and only took a month or two, but I was became a full-fledged member. They had membership pretty quick. Happened to get there just before membership started, so I became a full-blown member. One second. It was that shortly thereafter that I wanted to do maybe a lecture. They had open lectures, you could talk about stuff, and I thought I could talk about my unusual life, and so then there was some excuses that said that I started saying what it was about, that I'm God, or this God thing. It's my Truman Show, and that's when things started getting not good, I guess. I was going to try to do a lecture, like I said, and that pretty much got turned down. So there was some excuse, but there was this lecture on, I think it's called the Chai. It's about the Chinese they've got calendar based. Their calendar's based on like a sheep. One second, a sheep. Anyways, I am a sheep according to my birthday. I'm a sheep in the Chinese years, and there's this. One second. I'm just going to cut to the chase here quickly. What happened? The big picture here is I sent an email to a mother of a 14-year-old, and it wasn't taken too well, and I got a misdemeanor for it. I sent an email off, and I got not just a restraining order, but a misdemeanor for communications. And I was trying to. It was supposed to be a joke. This email was supposed to be a joke, and I'm going to explain what enabled that. But again, I was a full-blown member at this church, and I thought that this lady Kelly McGowan was my friend. I thought she and her husband were pretty good friends, so I thought I could joke around about a sensitive topic. What you're about to see is probably not too appropriate, but I guess I'm going to talk about it just because it's a story, for one, kind of shock and awful, like that's what I do, and I guess if somebody was gonna, if I ever get public and I get on TV and somebody goes, hey, this happened, well, you're gonna find out my version of the story, which is pretty much the story. So I guess you're just gonna hear it from me, so that you can hear an excuse for what happened. A lot of my story here is my sense of humor. It gets carried away, and I don't realize when I should stop sometimes. And I did not know that I could get a misdemeanor for an email, but the legal system just likes to bend me over. So you're not supposed to actually get. You're supposed to get a warning before any trouble occurs, but I never even got a warning. So I'm going to talk about, so you can check out this email. It's, give me 1 second here. So then jumping back a little bit, back to before I told the overview. They're having a little problem with me at this God thing. They don't really want me to talk anymore, and they're just getting a dissonance. They now are not exactly happy with me. And I guess I didn't really say much. I guess I must not have said much to the church before this, but I wanted to talk about my story, or I wanted to, at least I started telling the church leaders about my story, and immediately I was getting dissed on. 1 second. So Kelly was not dissing me. She appeared to be cool with me and everything. So one lecture, there's this, like I said, this Chinese calendar year. I'm a sheep. And Kelly's daughter's name, Emily, I think it's Emily, hang on. And Kelly, the mother, says, she's a whatever sign she is, and her sign needs to marry a sheep. And the way that she said it was kind of like, she needs to marry me, okay? And I thought, yeah, that's kind of a funny innuendo. It's like, I'm sure I'm 37 or 36 at the time, and I'm like, yeah, that's funny. I can kid around about that. So I thought I could kid around about this. Anyways, I sent her an email, and you'll see the first one. Basically says, I could joke around about that, but I've got enough rumors about me. I'm not that crazy. But it turns out that that wasn't good enough for me. I had to. I created what I call an SPD email, a split personality disorder email, and I created 50 of these before this, and in the 50 before this, nobody ever came back and said stop it or don't do this, this is inappropriate, or so I assume it to be all funny, that everybody understands my sense of humor. Until this one went up. Okay, I sent this one off. One second. When I didn't get a response from the first email, it gave me indication that she has a sense of humor. This is normally what happens whenever I send off emails to people. No response, it means no problem. Okay? So that was my mindset. So I thought I could joke around about this a little bit more. And so I created a SPD email. What it is I have a program which creates emails in sort of a script format. It's like a movie script. Okay, so people are saying, like, see if they got 3 or 4 characters and they're all saying stuff in a certain order, and it's all email. So it's like the bottom email is the first one, then you read up to get the order of which is said. And truly, I thought this was one of my best creations. I'll try to show which ones I was really proud of. There's some I just thought it was really creative, and it's like just it actually foretells the future. I had actually sent this off, and it actually is post dated. In other words, all the emails are in the future. And the idea is that I'm going to say this. It's all the script is actually written for the next Sunday in church, and I'm going to actually say these lines in church. One second. So I'm going to go through the email. It says, "Did you get the email I sent out last week?" And Kelly would say, Kelly's line on the next Sunday, and I'm just expecting her to say this. What email? This is, by the way, like what email? A lot of the people when I sent out these SPDs, 50 of them, none of them I could get. And I talked to some of them, and they're like, "What email?" Okay, so this is what I expected from her. This is I would say it's goodness. I can feel a tension in the air. It's like the world is coming down upon me. And the idea is that they're now getting ready. That person's actually going to start saying these lines, and so the energy in the congregation is just going to go like this to indicate to to indicate that oh my God, he's actually going to say this stuff. So I'm predicting what they're going to do in the church when I start giving these lines. And what I'm going to do in the church is not give these lines. I'm just going to say about that line, and then watch them shrink shrink down in their chairs, and then I'm just going to say something simple to get away from it. I'm not actually going to repeat the whole thing, but I was just going to give them the sign. But in this email, I'm going to give them. I'm telling them everything I'm going to say, so that they get really. So the energy is just so they're freaking out, right? And so I say, I was commenting on the lead and innuendo about your daughter needing to marry a sheep, and she goes, and she says, well, I didn't see any email, and that's not what I was referring to. It's so you must have thought I was sick enough to respond like that, like I'm mentally ill or something. Wow, cool, you're getting deja vu too? So the idea is here, deja vu with the email, and what I'm saying, it's kind of like deja, they're seeing this twice. So I have to admit, though, had it not been for another moment in time, I would have said something like, well, hey now, future mama-in-law, it's if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed. But I'm not that demented. So I'm joking around about this. I'm trying to have some fun with the fact that she's 14. And Luckily, I stopped myself from doing that or saying something weird. I've got enough rumors about me. I would have had to have been a sheephead to let that slip out. And besides, I usually don't like him that young. My usual pickup line is, "Hey, honey, if you're old enough to pee, you're old enough for me." And this is meant to be a farce. This is meant to be, out there. This is what a comedian like I do. I take the unusual and I make fun of it. This is stuff that I learned when I was young, I guess, and maybe Navy or something. I'm not sure, but this is a well-known comment for sickos. and I guess I'm portraying myself as one because I think it's funny to joke around about it, but I would find out that it's not exactly that funny. So I've got, then she would say, "Oh my God, I'm feeling faint. Can someone call 911?" And I got Bruce Peck, who's the church leader. He says, "Don't be confused, Chris." One sec. Took me a second to figure out what I was actually trying to say. I say, "Call, don't cause." That's call 911, don't cause 911. On 9/11, I had hair transplants put out. So there was actually some innuendo in the church before this, that when Bruce would hint that I caused 911. So that's what that was referring to. "Chris, we are in church and there are young present. Can you please refrain from this kind of talk? You've been getting out of hand the last few weeks. If I would have known you were going to say something like this, I would have canceled service today." I'm joking around because I'm expecting them maybe to even cancel service or something, because just expecting me to say something like this, right? So I say, hey, Bruce, Christopher has Christ in it, Pecker had his peck in it. Hopefully I'll do better next Sunday. See you then. Well, it turns out that they wouldn't cancel church service, they would cancel me, and I would get a restraining order. That email was sent off on the Tuesday or Wednesday, and I got a restraining order on Friday. Anyway, so look at the Burnsville police. It talk a little bit about what I was dealing with, but I got a restraining order. I saw them in courtroom, and she was complaining about my website, mytrumanshow.com, as though I'm some kind of problem child. Again, I thought Kelly was my friend before all this, and this is just shocking to me, among many things. I actually had another restraining order previously where I had to actually stay out of trouble, and this was the trouble that could actually get me put in jail. So now I have a lot of problems on my hand if this gets out. This is back. The previous one was back in Smallville or Redwood Falls. So I'm a little bit nervous about all this because I didn't mean to get in any trouble, and this was meant to be a joke. I sent out 50 of these things. Everybody says they never got it, and I assume they all understand my sense of humor. And the way this thing was written, it was I think it freaked them out. Is that this? It looks like they've been sending emails back to each other, back and forth to each other. And they get an email stack that looks like so it's like I'm faking email, which I am. I'm creating a script here. I'm actually creating a script and putting everybody's name in it, and I've got their email addresses in it. So it's almost very complicated how I do this. I set up Outlook and everything to masquerade as them or me or somebody else. And so one second. So it's a very complicated script I wrote. But like I say, I thought it was one of the best things I ever wrote. I thought it was very, very well crafted. How to portray the future. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to predict what they're going to say, and I'm going to give. Then I'm going to, if I would have actually showed up in church, then I would have started it off and see what they do. But like I said, I didn't go back. I've never been to the church since then. I got a restraining order, like I say, in the courtroom, and she was like I say, it was a big mess, and what sucked is that I got a misdemeanor for that, and I even had a lawyer representing me in this, and I'm like, where's the warning? I mean, this is a restraining. Where's the harassment requires some kind of warning, right? And it's like No, it's, Chris, it's basically, this is so volatile. What I've done here is that there is no joking around about such a thing. About, if you're old enough to bleed, you're old enough to breed. Well, that is the truth. I mean, if you can bleed, you can breed. But it's all meant to be a joke. It's all meant to be funny, and I can joke around about being with a 14-year-old. That's funny. That's a funny thing, Kelly, saying that, innuendoing that I'm supposed to marry your daughter. So, anyways, again, I sent the first email out to see if she would respond, saying, Chris, leave me alone. But I just assumed that she was tolerant of my first email and was going to tolerate my second. One second. I would not know just how volatile this email is until I sent it off to Bill. Bill got listed on top of my website here. It kind of bent me over. Anyways, I showed him this email, and I'm like, what do you think of that? And he read it, and he pretty much goes something to the effect of, hey, Chris, you need to stop molesting kids. And it's amazing. It's like War of the Worlds, in which what's his name? 1 second. By Orson Welles, in which they had a radio announcement that people thought that UFOs were landing, and I didn't realize just how sensitive this information is. I guess I'm not. I don't even. I just. It just seems like something you can joke around about, and comedians they tend to joke around about stuff that's sensitive, and so this is what I was doing, and but it'd be just amazing to see what just some words in the email can actually. It's like for Bill, it's like he thought it was actually some kind of looking for children, and I tried to tell him this is an email. This is not real. This is the email. This is not video. This is not happening. It took him it took 5-10 minutes to explain to him that this is just a script. It's a fake thing, and I just didn't realize, I guess, how talented I was at being able to write something up that would just be so vivid that people would actually believe this. This is actually, it should be obvious this thing's a farce. It's a farce. But evidently it's not. You don't joke around about this stuff, evidently. And it is almost like people have a personal, like everybody's been violated when they were young or something, and they've got some kind of personal, this is a personal attack against them for even mentioning this topic. And like I said, I have no experience with, I don't know. It just seems like something funny to me. 1 second. There's sort of a comic. The punchlines need to come at the right moments, and things need to be said when you portray this stuff. It appears I was way off target as far as the timing issue, and the way you say it and stuff. But it just again, I sent off 50 of these things. Nobody ever, or one person came back, and I'll talk about that in another video, but only one came, and it was just very minor. Nobody ever said, "Stop it, Chris. This is not a." And if people, you talk to people, they're like, "I never got an email." So, it was. I just thought it would happen again. There'd be no, what email? Kelly would say, "What email?" And it turns out that So I got a 2-year probation for that. And I had to go on, it's a drug probation, which I had a court order for drugs. And I could have fought that, but it would have risked going to trial and possible jail time if I was found guilty of harassing communications. And then when I tried to use that same statute that I was issued on, for a police officer looking at the Burnsville police link, it turns out that there needs to be a warning. So understand the Minnesota laws; they're very beautiful, and very beautiful. It's basically whenever Chris can get bent over, he will, and whenever he wants to use any of the laws for his own benefit, I can't use them. I even had a lawyer a lawyer defending me, and I'm thinking, where is the warning in this? And it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. But it does matter when I'm trying to use it when I'm on the offensive end. So 2 years probation and drugged up for 2 years. So it's amazing. An email can get you a misdemeanor. Only if you're Chris Roller, though. It was amazing. It was amazing too. The prosecutor for the states, Minnesota, they couldn't even find. They initially came out with one statute and said, "Oh, that one's not going to work. We're going to give you this one." So they found one that was for harassing communications that's a misdemeanor, but it's normally intended for people who have violated a restraining order. So I didn't even get one warning, and I got a misdemeanor for this. And it's all based on some words in the email, and people got freaked out, took it seriously, literally, and the Burnsville police, they seem to think that I was some kind of pedophile. That's pretty much the way they it was amazing. I guess Kelly had called Emily's school and told the principal that I was harassing her or stalking her. I think the word was stalking. And by the way, I sent this email to the mom. I just said hi a few times in the church, and I talked to the parents. That was about it. But somehow this led to that I'm somehow stalking. So they call in the church. Calling the school up, and going to the police, and they got their own version, and word's getting back to Redwood Falls police, and they're saying stuff that I'm some kind of stalker of young ladies too, which I did have a restraining order against the lady, but I was just trying to get information from. You look at that, you'll see that in another link. But yeah, somehow I like young ladies, and I'm stalking them. So this was not a fun time, I gotta say. One second. But it just appeared that this needed to happen, I guess. I needed to get the crap scared out of me, which is pretty much what happened, because last thing I needed was another restraining order when I had one that said that, a previous one that said that if I got in more trouble I could go to jail for violating the restraining order. The violation of the restraining order said the deal was I couldn't get any more trouble. Even a ticket, I think, I'd be in trouble. And I didn't really like that, but I had another lawyer for that, and Joel Soley, and that's the best he could do for me was that. So I was pretty scared, because I didn't know what would happen if word would get back and I would get in trouble. I didn't get back. For 2 years. I basically was living with this for 1 year. The restraining order, the deal was for 1 year. So it was a nervous time. I did not appreciate what happened, but it also was, the timing of it was right when they sued David Copperfield. So that, I guess it was. I'll talk about that coincidence sometime in another link, but it appeared that just needed to happen at that time. Maybe for about 2 or 3 or 4 reasons. I'm not sure, but 1 second.